Good evening. You're listening live to the Extreme Movie Show. I'm your host, Rob. Alongside me tonight, I have from the Great Midwest, RDV, and of course, he is on the sat line here because I'm broadcasting as usual from the Pinos Palace in the Extreme Studios just west of Orlando, Florida. Allegedly, the young 20-something also from Central Florida, Professor Pixel, will be joining us here shortly as we review Die Hard from 1988, starring Bruce Willis, an action movie that fits right into the Extreme Movie Show canon, pun intended there, because as RDV, as you know, we like to say we're an 80s based action thing. We branch off from there. That's our template and our home base. This is obviously a movie that we've seen before. It's something we've never reviewed, actually. And just because it's Christmas time, we said, what the hell? We'll talk later at the end about why it is or isn't a Christmas movie and some stuff about social media and younger people trying to latch on to 80s stuff and how it affects this movie. But I'll go ahead and just go first with my quick initial thoughts here too. I remember obviously Bruce Willis from, not just Miami Vice, which you saw him as a guest episode, but also from Moonlighting. This is back when he was breaking into himself being a big star. And actually it was something that this movie, when it came out, got the classic 80s reaction from everybody. Man, go see this movie. It's a lot of fun. It doesn't take itself too seriously. It's just kind of cool. Is it outrageous? Yes. Is it an 80s action film? Yes. Could it be made today? Yeah, I don't know. I liked it a lot. I think it's a lot of fun. It's not one that I rewatch a lot, but it's on and it's there, and it's a good representation of late 80s action film. What's your initial take?
I was gonna say about being remade today. I thought about that. I'm like, the only person I wanted to play is Hans Gruber. I believe it was Alan Rickman, right?
Yep. Yeah. First role, I believe.
Yeah. I would say get Giancarlo Esposito, Gus Fringe from Breaking Bad.
The chicken guy.
Yeah, I think he'd play a great Hans Gruber, or just another version of it. You don't have to call him Hans; he can call something else. But definitely, the guy is great at being a villain. Like I said, I watched him in Miami Vice, those 3 episodes. I was like, man, he just keeps coming back. But he's done pretty well. But yes, this movie. This is about. I can't remember. I don't even know how many times I've watched this. I don't watch it every year. It's not a big thing. Like I would watch it every year for Christmas, but it's a movie that I fell in love with as far as watching Bruce Willis movies. It was my first one, and sort of popped my cherry to say when it comes to watching Bruce Willis stuff. I've never seen an episode of Moonlighting,
right?
And because it's not available anywhere unless the only way you get it is if you have to know somebody. Because I wasn't live when it was airing. Or at least I think it was. I think it was probably 1 or 2.
Right.
Dude, this is, like I said, from the beginning, you get Carl Winslow in here too. You get Robert Davi. It plays,
Big Johnson.
Big Johnson in here too. It is just a big cast in here. It's like, and you're right. It's not a movie you don't have to take serious because the movie knows that they know they're going straight up action. It's comedy. It's definitely about a guy just trying to get back to his family for Christmas. You think about it. It's simple to the point. And I said I played the game based off of this PC, and I just had fun with this. It's a popcorn movie, and it's 80s.
Go ahead.
It's
yeah,
80s,
it is.
Man.
It is, and we talked about the death of the 80s film. It kind of happened suddenly and pretty quick here too. But I think if he's got his technical issues ironed out, we'll go right here to Pixel. You there?
I don't.
Sorry, I'm back. I'm sorry. I had to blow up the top floor of the Nakatomi building, but I'm back.
First watch for you, Pixel. Initial thoughts, please.
Initial thoughts. I love this movie. Die Hard might be one of my favorite action movies of all. It's just got so much fun about it. Bruce Willis is at his best. At least the best that I've seen. I've seen quite a few that I've liked, read other films, but this one is just special from the yippee-ki-yay all the way to the end.
It's quotable, and we had reviewed Bruce Willis a few months back in Color of Night, which just blew up here because of just how crazy. Definitely fit a role in the 90s as of a charming, wisecracking kind of guy.
Was the other one he did? That was really big.
Touch me again and I'll kill you. No, it definitely is a great film if you're trying to figure out about Bruce Willis, who has currently, I believe, some form of dementia, and that's why, even though we've complained about movies we've watched where he's advertising he's only on screen for 2 or 3 minutes, that's why, because he can't remember his lines or do anything. I know Judi Dench,
Yeah,
from Bond films, had an issue with that too, and it's just a thing that happens.
she was losing her sight. That's what it was for Judy. But,
yeah, and a couple of things I want to talk about, and we'll just dump it right into the movie, is that we said that we're going to talk a little bit about whether or not it's a Christmas movie. We'll do that more towards the end here. I wanted to actually start off by talking about the bad guy, Alan Rickman, because I think most people know him from, I think it's Hogwarts, those movies and stuff.
Yeah, Harry Potter movies.
Yeah, and I know he'd passed away maybe a few years ago, so everyone kind of goes back. And I'm just going to loosely kind of put this out there. First of all, he's quote unquote the bad guy. He's the heavy, but he's really this movie is just an excuse to have this little cat and mouse game with Bruce Willis in it, because he's not really a bad guy. He's ineffective. He's not particularly scary. The only thing he does different is he's just not over the top yelling and screaming and everything, and he has an accent and he's wearing a suit. Let's be honest. So I know people love him and they want to go back to this role, but it's like anything, if you say it in a British accent, people think you're two times better for whatever reason. So I don't want to hate on him, but there's definitely some revisionist history that goes back looking at some of these things. And the reason why I'm bringing this up now is not to shit on him, because I think he's fine in that. I like him in the role. It's because it has a lot to do with this being a Christmas movie and the way people in Pixel's generation look at the 80s stuff here too. So now, RDV, you and I, like I say, we like to talk about action stuff. We've talked about how in the 80s this has gone from the hand-to-hand stuff for the most part to just explosions and blowing up stuff. But this is really like The Warriors, or I'm not going to say The Thing like by John Carpenter, although I just did. It's one of those things where you're isolated in a building and then things happen to you. So in a way, it almost has like a Western kind of feel to it, and they play that role up in here a little bit.
He wasn't. It's kind of like Dante or Dante Hicks. I wasn't supposed to be here today. It's my day off. It's like they were expecting. He was going there to visit his wife, Holly, which is anyway. Like I said, another reason why it's a Christmas movie. But I mean, he's going there for Christmas Eve. She moved there. He's a New York cop, and she got a job out in L.A. She took the kids. They're kind of like on a separation, almost a little bit. It's a little bit uneven.
Oh, they definitely are.
Yeah.
And you could argue, is she the bad person in this film? Because she's the one that comes across as really cold.
Yes. So he's got presents, he's gonna see his kids. And except I love how he goes there, and basically this is a guy, he wasn't supposed to be there. He takes a shower. The bad guys basically come in, like, we're gonna take over the place, because they want to get into the vault down there. And so basically, I love the fact that the whole movie, it forces him. He doesn't have shoes.
Yeah, exactly.
I've got to say, you said that Hans Gruber isn't really a bad guy. He was at one point, he does take the hostages to the wired to explode rooftop to get the helicopter down and kill all those people.
He's the Grinch in this movie. He even kills the guy.
Do it. I mean,
Bubby, baby, bam.
He was going to do it. The only reason why it didn't happen was John McClane.
He killed at least one guy in this movie, and that was one of the hostages. So, but that guy had it coming.
Yeah, and here's the thing too, is that like you get introduced to characters early on. The foot thing, the way they did it was great. When they're on the plane, I'm looking at it going, man, look how wide those seats are, and just how much more fun it was to fly back in the 80s. Oh my God, and stewardesses that looked somewhat presentable, and it just was fun. It was a sign of middle class or upper class excellence and a prosperity of the 80s. And the other thing about that too that rings true, that again, if you didn't live it, is that he gets picked up by a limo driver, right? And they kind of have this. They're both a little uncomfortable, and it's not for race reasons. It's just because they kind of are used to this situation. But there's like a slight little bromance here. And then, of course, he has one with the one cop later on, too. So you forget that some of these movies, especially when you have someone, we talk about buddy cop films in the 80s, or just guys having a relationship that you can see that's just fun and dude stuff. And that's what you have here, because there's a level of machismo that's important to this movie that if you don't have those relationships, it won't work.
Do you know what really did it for me? It wasn't even the whole relationship with the cop and all that stuff. It's the way he had to go through things, the threats he had, other than the villains. Yes. Crawling through the vents, almost getting crushed by the elevator. Like I said, like, has to go across the broken glass, swinging out of, basically had to break the window. Then he had to swing, he had to swing out with the chair. Yeah, it's just like, just the action stunts were good in this.
Yes.
And
these are so iconic. Every action in this movie is iconic to the level that it gets copied. Though, in fact, the one sin that I have to go ahead and attribute to this film is the fact that we got the horrible film Skyscraper because of this.
no one talks about it. It's like Ghostbusters 2016. It does not exist.
I wish. Well, maybe you can just turn it off and back on again, and it'll be all great.
Well, if you think about a movie that I believe the three of us reviewed a few weeks ago with Burt Reynolds in it called Sharky's Machine, a great film. We talked at length towards the end that scene that got built up to where at the end the guy falls out. I don't know if it's the same stunt guy in here, because obviously we see Alan Rickman supposedly falling, but we see Hans Gruber, going to his death, and we get to see that where the one asshole guy from the Ferris Bueller movies, like, makes a comment, and we see the guy falling. So I don't know. This movie,
I'm not gonna say this
kill
was
off some of the characters here to give you a sense of impending doom. They have to. So the Japanese owner of the building, who's a good guy by all accounts, they whack him. And you're like, okay, they're not playing around here, but it's a bunch of Eurotrash people we don't care about. We don't really feel threatened by him, but it's the odds are overwhelming. How is this everyday average cop gonna get through it? That's the cool thing about it.
Like I said, the whole movie is John McClane desperate to get attention of this guy. He sees a cop down. He's like, no, because you pull the fire alarm. Guy shows up, throws the chair out, and it lands at the car. He's like, yeah, now I got your attention, motherfucker. It's like he's just trying because he can't get down. And you feel for this man, this guy. He's just doing everything he can to try to get back up. He wants to get up there and save his wife. He's, as far as I know, nobody knows that he's connected as his wife whatsoever. Yeah. Until the stupid idiot who wants to sleep with his wife, hey, Hans, baby, let me broker a tear for you. I do this for a living, I
will speak to this. He was an idiot. He was an idiot, but at least he didn't rat out the fact that she was his wife. That we can blame the news media for.
That's true. The people you aren't supposed to like, they do a pretty simple job of letting you not like them. And they do a good job at it. The media, to your point, a couple of people with that, but also with him just wanting to sleep with her. Because really, again, I go back to Holly, his wife, where he meets her, and he does we see him being a detective, displaying his skills. But like, I see you got your last name on the door. When were you going to tell people? Well, you are married, and that's a perfect argument that they would have. Yeah, and there's no resolution for it because she is in control. She's an ops manager. She's an important person that this guy brought along. Again, in the 80s, women finding the role in prominent positions like that, not just actresses, but, if you go back to Bonnie Bedelia, I think she was the love interest in Salem's Lot when we covered that did pretty well here on our channel. She just played the doughy-eyed, like 17, 18, 20-year-old, right fresh out of college, a love interest. Here, it's like, holy crap, it's not been a decade, and here she is, running a project for a company that's a multinational and using Japanese industry standards, which at that time were considered more superior than American, despite the fact Americans went over and taught them all that. So they had a lot of the 80s themes working there. And if you knew nothing about it, or this is the first time to watch, it would just go right over your head. So I thought all those elements, they did really good with the media and everything else there too.
Yeah.
And we have to think about this. That probably saved his marriage just a little bit.
Well, you can say that both times the terrorist happened saves his marriage. Just in the second one, it happens again, and then she it's
I haven't seen Die Hard.
But the third one, no. The third one, she's gone. But anyway, getting back, we're talking about the first one. The first one has always been the iconic classic one. Like I said, the dude had the fact that everybody talked about it. That's the one thing that everybody talked about is the fact that he had to walk on glass. He's pulling glass out of his feet and stuff because once Hans Gruber realized, oh, he doesn't have shoes on. Shoot the glass.
Yeah.
Oh, and then you see him pulling chunks of, even though I know he's wearing one of those foot covers for his shoes, but still, it's like pulling. It's like, oh.
Which is why what Rob said about this, what we come for is the cat and mouse game between Gruber and McClane.
Ideally, John would lose both his feet after this, so he would be chopped off.
The scene with them together is great. Like, because we know who it is with him. And he, for a moment, seems a little bit oblivious to it, but then he's piecing it together. We see him figure it out in real time, and he hands the empty gun to him, and just how casually he acts whenever.
Oh, he pulls the gun. He plays the play. He's like, "Yeah, I didn't trust you."
Like, oh, well, there you go.
But there's a lot of comedy scenes in here too. When he kills the guy with the machine gun, he puts like Santa hat on, and he puts it back up, tapes his ho ho ho. Now I have a machine gun, and the fact they get Hans to read it makes it much more impactful.
Yeah.
It's like, "You just killed my brother." It's like, or my cousin or whatever. And it's like, everybody in this whole entire like the group, the villains are like kind of like the blonde guy he kills, the beginning, and then but you go to like the guy who's working on the safe, the vault down there,
Oh, he's so entertaining.
Yes,
He's got so much energy.
and he reminds me of the guy. And it's probably a different actor, but he reminds me of the we just watched. What was it? No, Executive Justice or Extreme Justice was. What is one we just watched with Nick Nolte?
Oh, Extreme Prejudice.
Extreme Prejudice.
Yes.
Reminds me of the same guy, the telecom guy, the guy who did all the communications. But anyway, like this guy, yeah, and it's just that role. It was an important role in this too as well, because I just love the fact that he was, he's having so much fun in there. He's like, "Merry Christmas to me," and stuff, and no one cared. Hans didn't care about anybody but that guy, because that guy was working on the main goal. Everyone else is just basically to make it look like make it look like the whole thing is that Hans wanted basically to make it seem like they're holding a hostage up, but he didn't give a shit about the hostages. He just wants the money down there, and they're gonna leave. Like
when he's talking to the chief of police downstairs, and the nine members of the Rising Sun organization. I read about them in Time magazine. It's great. Oh my gosh. He doesn't care. He's just trying to
like I said, I just had so much fun with this. Like just Alan Rickman, like he is perfect in this. I didn't care for the Harry Potter movie itself. I thought he was perfectly fine just playing a villain in this. The point where this guy's become so celebrated that basically people there's actually an ornament of him falling from, and some guy did it. It's like an advent calendar. He falls slower and slower as it gets closer to Christmas. Then he falls. like this movie has become such a huge cult classic. I know some people are like kind of sick of Bruce Willis, because you're like, it's just a dumb movie the more you watch this. And I disagree. I just have fun with this. I would say that I know there's like 4 or 5 movies. I've always said that 1 will always be my favorite. 2's okay. 3, it says the Samuel L. Jackson movie. It's not. And same with everything else coming after that. 3 through 5 or 6, whatever there's, those aren't Die Hard movies.
Yeah, and the thing too with the 80s we mentioned is a lot of movies we said to only have been able to have been made in the 80s, like say Rocky 4. Not that Stallone lacked the ability to make Rocky relevant, but it's when you're like Orson Welles and you get magic in your first movie or two, it's hard to replicate that. And I think one of the things that really makes this movie very successful is not the fact that it's very light and simple, because it is. Joel Silver produced, and he's known for producing a lot of stuff like this in the 80s, popcorn type stuff. Nothing wrong with that at all. But it's the fact that you've got a guy that might have seen action in the war, as his character, I should say, John McClane, being mid-30s or whatever in the mid-80s. And the whole family dynamic of, wife wants to have it all, the kids, the husband, the big time job, which of course you can't do that successfully.
He's a New York cop, and she wants him to move to LA because she got a job, and he's like, "I'm a cop." He's like, "It is. I can't just leave."
They only hint at some of that stuff, right?
Yeah, and they hint at maybe he's going to transfer.
Yeah, and the thing with him is that he's an everyday kind of guy. He's not a jacked up dude like a Stallone or Schwarzenegger, even though those guys are blowing stuff up now instead of beating people up. He's, so it's much more easier for us to see ourselves in him, because we always think allegedly that cops and firemen and service workers, even though they're government agents, are somehow,
Yeah.
blue collar, middle class people. I understand that why people would describe it that way. Whether it is or not, it's a whole nother conversation. But back then, they were celebrated more, especially cops. They weren't disdainfully hated. What you really saw here, and you'd mentioned this before, RDB, is that
Yeah.
a lot of the stuff, and we talked about this even with all the Dirty Harry movies, about how government is made to look really stupid and inept, which it
Yes.
is, generally speaking. And you get that here with the guy who's in charge until the FBI comes in and it's Roberto Davi.
You think about
I mean, it's a little sub thing, but that was a thing back then, and it still is. But they're smart enough to put in there and not let it overwhelm the film.
You could tell, yeah. I mean, it's weird how Hollywood in the 80s was like small government, but now they're like in Hollywood's pro government. It's just so weird how it changed. But
yeah, and it's the one movie that does something similar to this, but it's a lot more serious as far as a character that might have seen more. Of course, we got to mention Rambo here. So there's this big divide from the early '80s of what type of films are going to be out: the real serious ones and the darker ones, or these popcorn films. And what wins? The ones what people remember, which they have the most fun at. Not necessarily saying they're the best, but this movie, Die Hard, I think is a template for a lot of movies that would come after it.
Well, yeah, I mean, you got Die Hard. You had Invasion USA with Chuck Norris. You had a lot of these movies coming out. They're the big popcorn flick movies, and they realized that you need to put some comedy into it with some action. It became the style. Especially after they saw the success of Commando. So the late '80s was action comedy, and I loved it for it because I love action, but if there's no not even any subtle humor, or it's just dry. I might as well just go play Call of Duty.
Well, I think that's one of the reasons why we're big time advocates of the Canon film catalog too, which Professor Pixel's not very in tune with, which we'll rectify. And it's one of the reasons why he's joining us on these streams.
He'll join us one of these times.
Yeah, I mean,
I guarantee it.
Yeah,
I'm saying I'll make that happen.
Let's bring up the whole Christmas movie thing, because I obviously say it's not a Christmas movie. I know there's some joking back and forth with people about it being a Christmas movie, and I want to kind of just get my thoughts out, let you guys handle it, being younger and youngest on the channel as far as the social media part, because the one thing I cannot stand with social media generally is that, if I want to watch my favorite guitarist Yngwie Malmsteen play Black Star for the umpteenth time, whether it's in 1994 version of Budokan Japan or whatever like that, great. And then I might see somebody who wants to react to it. Maybe they're a classical composer, and so they say, "Oh yeah, this is the defending fifth sequence starting in G and working backwards," or whatever like that. E flat minor figurine if you're a music guy. And so I like it when I can learn something about something that somebody has a specialty that they put into it. I don't mind being entertained, but I see all these young people that have these reaction videos and they're copycats down to the format.
Yeah.
They don't have a thought to their brain with it. And these are the same type of young people that are perpetuating the idea that Die Hard is somehow a Christmas movie because it's set during Christmas time or whatever. But they're not doing it because they generally are asking if it's a Christmas movie or whatever. They're doing it because they're just trying to instigate social media interaction without really giving a rat's ass about the film. And I know when we were going to talk about Die Hard, because we love it so much, this was going to be something that came up. And I wanted to hear what you guys thought about that, because that's one of the things we don't do here on Extreme Movie Channels. We don't do that
I'll
kind
let
of
Pixel go first.
I have a very, very simple question. It's a Wonderful Life. Is it a Christmas movie?
I don't know. Is it?
It's A Wonderful Life, a Christmas movie.
It's been associated as being a Christmas movie, even though it does.
It has been for years. It's it's in fact my favorite Christmas movie. But Christmas does not really play a pivotal role towards it. Like they say it at the end, Merry Christmas, George.
That's it.
That's it. That's it. It is a film about the life of a man who has a mistake take everything away from him as he's built up a life that he initially didn't want, but he finds happiness in it. It's set during Christmas. It's still my favorite Christmas movie because it's just that good of a film. Die Hard is a movie set at Christmas. If people want to say it's a Christmas movie, I'm fine with that. It's fun. It's fun to say that this is a Christmas film because it doesn't feel like it.
No,
It
I
doesn't
think
really-
I disagree. I think it totally takes away from what the film is, which and Die Hard, and again in the late '80s, when people saw it, people came out and they had fun. They said, "Man, you got to check this out. You got to see it. It's really cool." And the blah blah blah, yippee ki this, that, whatever. And you're going to see it for that. Not one person said, "Hey, man, this is a cool Christmas flick." The whole thing with Christmas, you talk about is what It's a Wonderful Life. Is that a Christmas film? Well, there's definitely a supernatural element to it, and it's based off of, was it A Christmas Carol or whatever that Dickens thing is. So without having seen it in a very long time, I'm going to sit there and say it might be because of the religious element in there with the angels and all that other kind of stuff. I remember not liking the film at all for certain what I would call humanitarian reasons or whatever like that. But that's something you and I might discuss here in a week or so. But the point is Christmas is about the Mass of Christ. It's about all that. If you celebrate it, if you're a 2-year Catholic, or if you're just a Christian or whatever denomination, a lot of people don't observe it and do it. So
Well,
I think you're doing a disservice to people that say that this is a Christmas movie. It's not.
you say the birth of Christ. Well, there's secular Christmas, and then there's Christians who they don't call it call it Christmas. They just celebrate the birth of Christ. That's it on that day.
Right.
They don't do presents and stuff. Basically, this movie said from the very beginning, it's a guy going to a Christmas party that takes place on Christmas Eve. It's set there. They chose that. Now, if they should have set during St. Patty's Day or something, there wouldn't be an office party.
And the guy that's with him, the one that's in the front, I can't remember his name. Do you remember the limo driver?
Driver.
Oh.
Okay, well, limo driver goes ahead and says at the end, if this is how you spend Christmas, I can't wait to see what you do on New Year's.
There's a lot of things they put into this movie as far as the fact that his wife's name's Holly. It's by design. Her Christmas gift to John, the Rolex, leads to the demise of Hans Gruber.
Yeah, because he takes it off her when he falls. It's a Rolex, John. That guy was such an ass.
Like I said, it's snowing at the end. The director himself said it's a Christmas movie. The co-writer. I know Bruce Willis has said it's not, but Bruce Willis has also been a contrarian too through his life as well. Yeah. He doesn't agree with anything, but there's so much Christmas music in this movie.
Yeah.
The guy
I think
I have a machine gun. So there's a lot of Christmas elements in the movies in this as far as secular Christmas goes. But if you're talking about the birth of Christ, there's a lot of movies that don't do that at all, that are called Christmas movies. Miracle on 31st Street, is that a Christmas movie, or they just choose to be a Christmas?
I'd have to do it. The point here wasn't so much arguing whether it is or isn't. It's the fact that a lot of people today I call it the Stranger Things phenomenon, where that was a sleeper hit. It seemed like they had an idea of what the 80s was like based off of season one, but then the farther they got, you realize they had no clue, and just plugging anything in there just to make it seem like it's part of the 80s is doing it a major disservice. And very few things really, I think, authentically captured the spirit of it, because that's what made Die Hard great, was that it captured at that moment in time what it was like to be in the 80s. Pixel, you mentioned about a computer guy coming in or whatever, right? He's African American. He's going there and he's yucking it up with the Euro trash dude before they whacked the security guy. It's like, yeah, the magic passed the cream and then worthy and and then boom, right? If you're a basketball fan or grew up in the 80s, it was all Lakers Celtics and considered the best dynasty of basketball ever. And it's unwatchable and it's horrific now. But back then, they were two historic franchises having a historic battle in the decades. And you knew that for about a good 10 years there. That's what was going on, peak level stuff. So even that, like with Fletch, he's wearing a cream jersey and all that stuff. He makes a reference. The Lakers were a thing as well as the Celtics. Yeah. So little stuff like that captures it. But that means nothing to you if you're, say under 40 and you're not a big basketball fan.
See, I said, for me, for this movie, the whole thing takes on Christmas Eve, and then at the end of the movie, I assume it's already Christmas Day, because it's
pretty damn close.
Yeah. But like I said, the fact that it's become such a huge cult classic of being a Christmas movie doesn't always make it a Christmas movie, but it means a lot of people associate with Christmas, and that's nothing wrong with that.
And I think that's a good thing. think about how many people make it a tradition now to go ahead and watch.
Do they though, or is that just social
no,
media
there are
talk?
people that
I know.
go and they go to watch Die Hard. Die Hard's in theaters right now.
Yeah,
because it's
Hans
Christmas
Gruber.
time. So people are going ahead and they're still exposed to one of the best action movies of all time. So we may not feel that it's a true
And you want to be
Christmas
exposed.
movie. It may not feel like a true Christmas movie, but that's fine because it makes it still relevant today. And that's important. I feel that's important, especially for people of my generation and younger. They get exposed to one of the best action films of all time every Christmas, and it's just fun. Yippee-ki-yay. Why not?
So what if you had Santa Claus in here with a machine gun taking on terrorists? Would you say that's not a Christmas movie? Or do you say that's Christmas?
You're talking about the movie last year. What is it? With
Silent Night or something?
Violent Night.
Or Violent Night?
horrible movie, not fun at all.
It was so much fun.
Well, now I wasn't thinking about that. I was talking about the Fat Man.
Oh, I didn't
Mel Gibson.
I didn't see that.
Oh God, it's tough. It's tough. If people think it was a Christmas movie, it's a Christmas movie. You know, it's still like they're still the Redskins to me. Damn it, they're not the Commanders of WFT. And
Yes, I saw they were playing today, and I get triggered when I see Commanders. I'm like, you freaking pussies! They're called Redskins.
Yeah, but I mean, look, it's you can have your Violent Nights, you can have your Five Nights at Freddy's. Give me my Die Hard. You know, that to me, there's just like no contest. You know, just like people that talk about
Big
the
Johnson
versus
and
that.
Die Hard.
I think Ed Brewer at this point, it certainly does. My older brother he grew up in the 80s. He grew up young. He's always considered Die Hard a Christmas movie.
Come on, John. Come on.
It's something that he loves. My mother can't stand that because she doesn't care for the movie, even though she loves Bruce Willis. But my oldest brother is like, Die Hard is a Christmas classic. What are you talking about? And he said that my entire life.
Like I said, I was at a homework and I saw a John McClane an event as an ornament to Christmas.
It's like good. It is good fun, and so we just need that sometimes. I think that it's important to go ahead and have movies like this, like It's a Wonderful Life, and other films that just associate with holidays. That's okay because it keeps them relevant for the future generations to come. Do you know how many kids will know about movies that we're talking about? Not many, and they won't. Hopefully, they'll learn about them years on, but they'll always
these
know.
poor kids will never know about Dark Shadows. Damn it!
Dark Shadows is something
Not a Christmas show.
It's definitely. Well, they actually no, they never had Christmas episodes because they would take their season breaks right at around the holidays. But in the credits, the person who says where the action is, we here at Dark Shadows wish you
Eyes Wide Shut is a Christmas movie. How dare you?
No, I'm not saying that it is, but it takes place during Christmas. But again, what do you really learn about Christmas from either of those movies? You could argue with It's a Wonderful Life or some others that maybe there's a religious component to it, which is what Christmas is supposed to be about. You don't get any of that here. It's
Wait. How long, like over the span, because I've never seen Eyes Wide Shut. How long does the movie
spare yourself? Don't watch it.
Does it take place over months?
No.
It's just one short span of time set around
one giant Yuletide fun.
Okay, maybe it's more. I guess it's more of a Christmas movie than Spider-Man 2 is a Thanksgiving movie. But I still like hearing Tobey Maguire saying that he beat an old lady with a stick to get those.
Ghostbusters 2 takes place between Christmas and then on New Year's Eve. So it's like, but it's not your typical Christmas. It just happens to be Christmas in the movie, where this takes place on Christmas Eve, and the guy's actually going to spend time with his estranged wife. He's got presents for his kids, Christmas presents there, and like I said, they're at the movie. All he wants to do is he wants to spend time with Christmas with his family. He's George Bailey trying to unite with his family.
It's so funny because we talk about Alan Rickman and Harry Potter, and I loved Harry Potter. I loved reading the books. I loved watching the movies. I loved all of that. I loved playing the game. All of that. It is so heavily associated with Christmas, but it's a movie that takes place over a school year.
And
But Christmas is such an important element of childlike wonder that it just shines in the films and the books and all of it. So that is still, it's not a Christmas movie, but you can still feel the Christmas spirit halfway through that.
I have a question for Rob. Trains, Planes, Automobile. Is that a Thanksgiving movie?
No, it's a buddy movie. Takes place during Thanksgiving. It's just
But a man trying to get home to Thanksgiving.
right, exactly. That's just the thing that drives them. It could be a birthday, it could be a graduation, it could be any other event.
So many people associate that movie with Thanksgiving, though.
Because it came out around then and it's filmed around then, and back then when people would travel to go home to do all that stuff, it reminds them of it, but it's not about in and of Thanksgiving of itself. So no, it's not to me. I understand what you're saying, but that's just association by when it comes out. That's all.
You have your own opinion, and I'm just saying a lot of the people think it's and that's the way it's always going to be. I'm never going to say, Rob, you can't have your opinion. You may be wrong. I don't agree with you, but I mean, like, it's nothing wrong with it. Hey, I'm cuter than E.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, I'm not going to say one way or another if for sure it's a Christmas movie, but it's fun for me to say it is, just because it doesn't feel like it, but it has enough that it can count towards you.
Well, I think you have to be able to say what makes that work. And that's where I think things get lost. And the whole point, this Christmas movie crap with Die Hard, it's not a slight on Die Hard. I honestly, like I said earlier, and I'm just going to say it again, it takes away from Die Hard when people like to joke about it. And whether there's merit to young people saying, well, it just comes on a lot at Christmas time. And so this generation, that's how they view it and see it. I understand it. I get it. That doesn't mean it's right or it's valid. It just means that that's what's going on. And it just clearly shows what a complete lack of being in touch the younger generation has when it comes to some of this older stuff. And that's just how it goes. I mean, things were definitely different in the 80s. We like to point that out, how things have changed in the 80s and from the 90s. And, RDV, when you and I talk about stuff, we kind of have joked about Tuesday night doing Ghostbusters 2 and arguing whether or not that's a New Year's movie. Just as a joke. But
well, I said more a Lethal Weapon.
That's what it was. Okay, so it's just
Christmas trees.
But again, you do not see Christmas portrayed in a lot of stuff as being important to the family or other kind of stuff. It's changed a lot since then. So to what you're saying with him wanting to go home and reconnect with his wife and his family and his kids, all that stuff, that you would do it. I get it, but I don't think you'd see that same drive out of a male, middle-aged, middle-class character that you wouldn't have today, because they don't exist.
He wasn't middle-aged back then. He was in his 30s.
I do have to say, this does remind me, we didn't talk about it. Maybe we will. The Holdovers came out a month ago. It is a fantastic film. It's a holiday movie. It's a Christmas movie. That is one that people should go check out. It captures the 70s style, at least, so well. It's really a heartwarming story.
Black Christmas, Jack Frost. Are they Christmas movies? No. But I mean, there's so many of them that are like that, though. Thanksgiving, for God's sakes.
Well, like I said, there's a lot of ones that take place during these holidays, and like I said, if it brings joy to you to watch them every year, then do it.
But I do have to ask: do you think it's not better that Die Hard can still be as relevant today compared to so many other action films that do go ahead and they get kind of lost
in the action? No one talks about that at all. I don't hear anybody talking about.
Let's be honest.
Delta Force.
What has it really got to compare to? You got a bunch of CGI comic book movies out there. I mean, Die Hard's pretty light on action. I mean, we've covered some pretty hardcore action.
Die Hard actually had CGI with the explosion with the chair.
I think a few, but not nearly as exhaustive or as annoying as what you find in film generally today.
That's not like Blown Away.
No, but we talked about that too with some of the things, like even in Die Hard here, when the cop gets the chair landing on him with the body in it, and he just hits reverse and just kind of stumbles back. That's not a big, exciting action sequence in and of itself.
No,
but when you look at it as far as it being a stunt, you're like, hey, that's pretty friggin' cool. That's not
but
too
it's
bad.
a natural reaction, though. This is a guy who probably hasn't seen that much fighting a rotor or a cop. You know, he's never fired his gun, or actually no, he take it back. He did say he fired his gun once.
Yes, he goes through that story. When they're bonding.
But I know, but it's a natural reaction. I love it. The whole movie just flows.
It does.
There's not a scene in there where I say like roll my eyes. I'm like, hey, can we go to the next scene? No, it works well through this. You know, and like I said, I love the fact that when Hans Gruber falls, they show slow motion falling. and like I said, you just like that is so great because what happens in we saw Shark Machine, he falls a little bit and then it's a dummy dropped.
And when the movie ends and let it snow starts playing, it reminds you at the end, oh yeah, it's Christmas.
Yeah. I'm still was it 2 or 3 that had the alternate ending? It was supposed to be Hans Gruber's brother was getting revenge. I think it was 2, right?
I don't recall.
I remember there was a deleted scene. There's like, you know, it was supposed to be Hans Gruber's brother. And he wanted revenge against McClane, and that's why the whole thing with the ending with they're stealing the money. I think it was 2, the diner scene. Anyway, but dude, like I said, Hans Gruber. I always say this is his best movie. I don't care if the Harry Potter movies, and it's not slight against him. I just felt that his character in there was kind of dumb compared to Hans Gruber. Hans Gruber is like, it's just so dark, so like, you know, so articulate, so smart, and I just love how he's able to basically just play other people. The whole scene where, oh, I'm just another hostage just like you wandering around. Here's a gun. And then you know, like that whole scene, everything interaction with him and John when he's on the phone with John.
Yes.
It's like, I just love it. He is just, you know, it's awesome.
The 80s were not afraid to show that being a nerd or being intelligent wasn't either useful or cool, whether it's from war games or other things. And to your point here, even if you're a bad guy, anybody can be a bully and scare you or whatever. But this is just, I love his role in it. I like the fact that he understates himself. He's not yelling and screaming and shouting and being a blowhard. I think it's a nice contrast to the energy, the American energy, if you will, that he's able to channel.
He's creepy, dude. Like he's so calm. And then when he finally kills that guy, it's like you weren't expecting it because like this guy is like, hey, and he seemed like he's just the brains. He's not.
Wasn't reckless.
Yeah. You know, it's not. Yeah, it's not like he just like starts like screw you, boom, boom, boom. You know, it's like this. You know, it's like you weren't expecting that to happen. You know, it's the first I've ever seen where the villain comes up across the hero and poses a hostage. I don't think I've ever seen that in a movie before.
Well, that's why they put him in a suit, from my understanding, is that they said they want to have a scene where they can interact together. And I think that works. Obviously, Bruce Willis physically is, you know, a bigger presence physically, and of course his energy and being the star of the movie and how well he was known with moonlighting at the time. You have to root for him. So what are you going to do? You know, have a guy that's just going to be an asshole that you want to see do it? No, we're going to take a little bit level higher. We're going to have all the thugs out there that are going to get whacked. So it's the classic, you know, 80s kind of build up that we've talked about.
Guy, you know,
you go up the food chain until you meet the boss man. I mean, and it's simple, effective storytelling. And it's like Pixel, when we talked about earlier tonight offline, episodes 19 to 20, Mission Impossible, which will drop later in the week. Show us what the setup is going to be, and then just let us watch you execute and see how well you do it. And even if we know what to expect, there's still a human element. You got to go do it. And then that itself, if you do it right, can be engaging. And I think the whole cat and mouse thing is the best stuff in here when he's having to like circle back, trying to figure out what floor he's on, figuring out where to go use the phone, trying to find different ways to contact the outside. So then find out there's a bigger plan to it. So there's all these little scenes that unravel a little bit rather than just action sequence A, B, C, D, E, one's bigger, bigger, bigger. No. Yeah. Again, like Sharky's Machine, introduce the character through action and do something, and then have one big payoff at the end, and we get that. I mean, it's simple, it's classic, and it's not used that much anymore.
I love the fact that they even have the whole TV broadcast. There's Nakatomi Plaza building has been taken over like this Christmas Eve. You know, interrupt you. It's like it looks so real. The news report. It's like I've seen people upload it like as gags, like, you know, on YouTube and stuff. You know. Mm-hmm. And like some people have never seen the movie, like what the hell is that? They think it's real because it's that articulate as far as how they wrote the script, how they film things. They want to make it as realistic as they could. The only thing that wasn't realistic for me was him walking in the glass and not being able to walk for the next 2 hours, you know, or at least an hour and a half. You know, he's His feet are all disgustingly black and dirty from walking around. He's got the glass put on. I'm thinking like, there's no way, dude. Like I'm like, what's his name? Daniel Stern. I step on a nail, I'm done. I'm not walking for the rest of the week or month.
You're not walking for the rest of the week.
All right, final thoughts. Pixel, go ahead.
So much fun. One of the best action films ever. I mean, it's iconic for a reason. There's a reason why any other action film nowadays is trying to emulate that horribly. Skyscraper. Do not watch it. Or watch it and suffer. And I think that if you want to make a holiday tradition out of this film, that's up to you. I wish you a very Merry Christmas and a yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
RDV?
Like I said, is my favorite Bruce Willis movie. I know you like Killer Night, but that's not for Bruce Willis.
No, I like it because he's everything in that movie he's not as an actor, and that's what makes it work.
He also co-wrote it, didn't it?
I don't know about that.
I don't know if he had a writing credits. I know he did on Hudson Hawk.
Hudson Hawk, I have a soft spot for.
I know, but it's like,
I know.
Bruce, never pick up a pen ever again unless you sign your name. Like I said, it's a very fun movie. So much that it's putting Pixel to sleep over there.
I'm not asleep. Sorry, I was checking something.
Yeah.
Well, maybe do that off camera. So it sounds like you're being rude. Looks like you're just Rob, keep talking.
Yeah, you got audience members here, and you're not getting 100%. I mean,
he's a Gen Z. What do you expect?
Yeah, I expect nothing. I'm never disappointed.
Nothing.
I'll say this. Look, I agree. It's a great action film. I love it a lot. I think it's very representative of the 80s, which gives it an extra plus in my book. Yeah. And I'll say this. Seeing it at the time, you never know what movies are going to stand out as you get, older. Or you'd be like, yeah, I thought it was pretty good. And you're like, yeah, okay, that was kind of cool. But for some reason, this one's left a mark, and nobody knew that at the time because there's a lot of really good action films and a lot of fun, entertaining films from the 80s. And I think this is just one in the action category that stands up there. I miss the fact that you could see a lot of action films in 1 year. It'd be interesting to kind of go back and just look at what the action films are that came out in 1988 and just go through them. We'd probably have 20 of them and go, man, if we could only get 4 of them to come out in 2024, right? It's definitely a movie you got to see.
I would disagree. I'd say it left more than just one mark. There's a lot of marks for this movie, and I'm one of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, there you go. You guys decided at home, is this Christmas movie or not? And just let us know. Did you enjoy this movie? Is this one of your movies you watch every year? If you haven't seen it, I would say go and check it. It is actually one of my favorite movies by Bruce Willis. The favorite movie I have with him. If you're going to watch the Die Hard trilogy, so you haven't watched it, watch 1 and 2. You don't need to watch 3. Just stop at 2.
I'm seeing one right here called She-Wolves of the Wasteland that might be worth checking out.
All right. And if you're on Eggnog, check that out. But that being said, hope you guys had fun, and we'll see you on Tuesday for Lethal Weapon.
Lethal Weapon, yeah, that's what we're going to be doing. For the next 2 weeks with Christmas and New Year's, our schedules may be off a little bit. We may drop some things here and there time-wise, so take a look for that. Again, if you have any suggestions, let us know. We'll find out here pretty soon. We'll get our 1,000 subscribers, so we're looking at trying to get a little bit more content out there for watch time. If any of y'all know people that would like to have us on as special guests to kind of plug our show and to get feedback on some movie reviews or otherwise, let us know. We're trying to cross-promote on that and get the word out there. I've had a few people reach out to me, and we've done a little bit of that this year, and I think we're starting to grow a little bit of an audience here, which we really appreciate too. So Lethal Weapon, it is Tuesday night, and I'm looking forward to that. That's another 80s action film. Go check it out. RDV, is that on Tubi right now, or where's it playing?
I haven't checked. It might be on Tubi. Otherwise, I have it on, dude, I have it on VHS and DVD.
Is there anything you need to plug for tonight?
Just if you want some more Christmas, if you're into Christmas food and you like reading, watching people read comic books, tonight we're going to be reading another Donald Duck Christmas from the 1940s. So a lot of fun stuff over there, and some Spider-Man. So go check over the Geeky Puppet Show. Keep this ball running, and I hope you guys have a Merry Christmas if we don't see you. So
yeah, Merry Christmas, or what do they say out of Bad Xmas. Santa? Happy Kwanzaa. I mean, whatever it is you're into, that's fine. But have a good night, everybody. Take care. Happy holidays. Stay extreme.
Die Hard is